Hi guys, so welcome back. It's your girl Christina from ABAA. It has been a little bit of a while, since I passed my test and everything of the sort. I wanted to do a video on the different study materials that I utilize in order to pass the exam. Now, you have to understand, I took this test 3 times and I passed on my third try. So starting off, the first thing that I used way back in this was probably like last April maybe, or May or so. So I was and it's called like Study Notes ABA CRAM, and it was the one where you're doing it on your own pace, your own self pace, right? And I did like the 4-month access. While doing this, I wasn't like fully taking it completely serious. I was like using it as a little bit of a introduction or a little background information. So I knew that when I go along with studying or using this studying tool, this isn't going to be like my end all be all. So they also recommend that you read Cooper while you're like enrolled in the course. I wasn't reading Cooper at that time, but I just was going through it. I was taking notes and just, I guess, for lack of better words, relearning the material that I learned in grad school. Fast forward to when I really started to get more serious into my studying, I would say maybe you could say I reviewed my notes a little bit from Study Notes ABA, and then I was also using the BAS. So that's Behavior Analysis Supervisor program, and I was using I think it's like the $299 option one. So it was just like the mini mocks and like the explanations for it. And I was also using Pass the Big ABA manual. So I was reading that, I was creating flashcards on that information and reviewing those flashcards, taking the quizzes or review questions at the back of the mini mocks from the BAS modules and looking at their feedback and stuff. And I took my first exam in October of last year, and I got a 364 on that exam. So I was disappointed. I was like, man, I failed. This sucks. And then I was like, it is what it is. I took like a weekend off from studying, and then I got right back on it again. And that time around, I had a tutor, and I will post her information in like another video just so you guys could be aware of who she is. So I got a tutor, and I was meeting with her twice a week, right? And she pretty much catered the tutoring session for my own needs, which is one of the reasons why I love how she did it. It was very individualized. And also, I was rereading the Pass the Big ABA manual, and I had the bigger flashcards. They come with these flashcards, and it goes with like every single section. This is section G right here. And I was using those. I was using the ABA Wizard app. I was also using Study Notes ABA app. They meet twice a week, Tuesdays and Saturdays, and I would show up, ask a few questions, listen to other people's questions, form little group discussions or whatnot. I also went ahead and I made like my own big poster cards and stuff like that, and I had it like taped along my walls inside of my room. And every now and then when I would look at it, just like constantly exposing myself to that material and just testing my knowledge. So, and I was scheduled to take that exam again around the last week of December. And the reason I was trying to do that is because they were going to bump from the 5th edition to the 6th edition. And I think those were the main study materials I used. When I took the test, I ran out of time and I scored a 386. I was so disappointed in myself. I was like, oh my gosh, like what more do I have to do here? I was just so upset, so disappointed. Then I realized something is just not clicking in my head. I know for sure that I am a slow reader, so on top of that, I've realized that even like throughout grad school, high school, and college in general, when I'm stressed, I tend to move even slower, or my brain works even like a little bit more slower, or it kind of like just shuts down. So I went ahead and I got tested, and it confirms that I have ADD, which is attention deficit disorder. So I was like, okay. So with that, I was able to get some testing accommodations, and I was like, okay, I know for sure I'm gonna pass this time. And the third time around, I pretty much showed you guys all the different materials that I utilize. I use ABA Wizard. I use the study notes app. I met with their group, and then I also used their fluency quizzes. I utilized my tutor. I had two different tutors. I had the one I used previously, and I had the mystical therapist or analyst. And then I was also, I didn't read the manual, the ABA. Sorry, I didn't read the ABA manual from front to back anymore, because I understood like the information, you know, overall. I really understood the information. So it was just more so like a little bit of a review. I also utilize Nick's Beat the Beast. I took his Beat the Beast 1 and 2. Then I also like went over the information of like the rationales for each question. Even if I scored like even if I got the question correct or incorrect, I went over that as a review. I had a study group that I was a part of. And what else? So, and then was I doing anything else? I was taking notes. I was listening to the BAS modules. Not everything. One thing I would say, like a key takeaway, is since this was not my first time around this rodeo, I realized, okay, not everything in these sections I don't know. A lot of things I do know. So one thing I did was I used the ABA Wizard as a baseline. I went through the quizzes, and if I was able to get like it green and get everything correct in the different task lists, I was like, okay, so I don't have to review that particular section. I could just move on. So that is like another tip you could utilize in order if you guys are retesting and stuff. And I would focus in on the ones that I was getting, those questions I was getting wrong, or those sections that I was getting those questions wrong in, and reread, listen to the BAS modules. Then I took like the mini mocks from BAS as well. Did the same thing. Every time I was taking like a mini mock or a mock, I was always looking over the rationale, writing notes down of why I got the answer wrong or why I got it right. I also utilized Cooper in things that I was just not fully confident in, and just to like completely review my notes, or review the information. And those were the majority of the study tools I use. I also listened to Jessica's 6-hour exam that she did with the breakdown. That was very helpful. I did that throughout. Every time I was taking a test, I did that throughout. And then I also utilized the ABA exam review on YouTube. That was helpful. He also has like a playlist based off of the 5th, and now he's going into the 6th edition of the different sections, and taking notes on that and just listening to that while I'm in the car and stuff. I was also using this other podcast that was helpful. I forgot the name of it. I think she's the ABA chemist or something like that. I was listening to her, like, especially when I was done reading, perhaps like, or listening to like a module from BAS. If I wanted to just review the information in a different way, I would listen to it and just try to get as much exposure as possible. I took as many like mini mocks as possible, but I knew definitely having the third time around I was going to pass, because I had that extra time, and it was because for my accommodation and for what I needed. So I hope this helps, because I noticed like you guys are asking me what are some different things I use, so I just wanted to share that with you guys. All right, see ya.